Hi, oh wait, that's not how we start.
I think it is today. Hi, y'all.
Hello, Misfits. This is Kate.
And this is Kevin.
Welcome to Horrorwood. I don't know where my brain was. I was
That's
just
okay.
like, hi, everybody.
Hey, y'all. Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
bitch.
Hi, bitch. White Janes. White Porsche.
What's up?
Well, not too much, actually.
We just
had
had
a photo shoot.
a very casual but fancy photo shoot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Guys, we're getting fancy up in here. We're like doing photos.
We're photos. Wait till you see these pics.
Wait till you see how profesh we are. Actually, I'm wearing a hoodie in mine because I should have worn a different shirt, but like...
No, I love your shirt.
It's literally what I wear every day.
I love it.
I wasn't feeling any of my clothes today. And I was like, you know what?
I hate those days.
So now it's going to be there forever.
It's immortalized.
With my hoodie in this picture.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, it was great fun.
And we had some donuts from Beacon Donuts.
Ooh.
They don't sponsor us, and that's okay because they're so delicious that you should just go there anyway.
Yeah, if you're in Chicago, go to Beacon Donuts. Is it Chicago specific or is it a chain?
I think so. I think
Okay.
it's Chicago specific.
Got you.
So sorry, rest of the world.
Sorry, everyone else.
They're just like in this little alley, and you just like walk down the little alley, and they have a little sign, and they come out and they pop out of a window, and they're like, "Here's your donuts." So good. Okay, what do you have for us today?
Let's dive in today. So today we're talking about a story that begins with a popular novel turned movie and ends with an on-camera murder, zero accountability, and several people, including a U.S. television network, still to this day wanted for questioning in Zambia.
What the fuck?
Huh, huh, huh.
Whoa.
This story is insane.
Okay.
It's insane. Let's dive into the story of zoologists, Delia and Mark Owens.
They're zoologists. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, their preservation work in Africa and the novel Where the Crawdads Sing. So
That's
I
not
listened.
how they sing.
No, but I listened. I actually looked up videos of crawdads making
love
noises because I was like, what is the sound?
Right.
And it's like this.
Oh.
It's like a clicky sort of whooshing air sound.
That doesn't sound like singing to me.
Not to me either. So I don't know what the fuck she
Sounds
was
like
talking about.
clicky clackety.
When I was coming up with titles for this story, I had Poached Crawdads, How Animal Conservation in Africa Turned into Murder.
Oh.
Crawdads Don't Sing, The Mark and Delia Owens Story.
I kind of like that.
Murder Amongst the Crawfish, The Story of Mark and Delia Owens. Colonialism and Crawdads, Don't Kill Elephants.
Wow. It's really taking all kinds of avenues.
So all of these are a great look into what we'll be talking about today.
I only know this case peripherally. I've heard like a blip about it, but I don't really know anything about it. And I haven't read the book or seen the movie. Is that bad?
No, it's not bad at all. I do want to say that I use several sources. No.
Not today, demons.
I used several sources in this story, but I specifically want to shout a fucking amazing and super long and detailed article in The New Yorker titled The Hunted by Jeffrey Goldberg.
Oh, okay.
All about this case. If the story interests you, go there because his 18,000 word story is captivating. And
I love that you have the word count.
Well, I mean, it took me a long time to get through
Yeah.
this, but it's the main source that I used because he does a crazy deep dive.
Ooh.
And I'll talk a lot about it,
Sure.
but I'm not going to
It's not like you're going to regurgitate his article.
No, exactly. So if you're interested, we'll link it. It's
Awesome.
good. I'm going to talk about the story of the book and the movie, but no spoilers here, just synopsis.
I mean, spoilers are fine, I feel, because it's been out for a while.
It's been out for a while. But Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens was released as a novel in 2018. It's a captivating story that intertwines like a coming of age story with a murder mystery. So it's all set against the lush backdrop of North Carolina's coastal marshlands.
Okay.
The narrative follows the life of Kaya Clark, a young girl who grows up in isolation after being abandoned by her family.
Oh.
Dubbed the Marsh Girl by the local townspeople of Barkley Cove, Kaya learns to survive on her own, finding solace and companionship in the natural world around her.
Okay.
So she becomes like a
woman of the woods.
A woman of the marsh. Oh, have you seen The Woman in Black?
I don't know.
I think I've probably talked about it on this podcast before, but it was a book by a British author that was turned into a play, and it plays in the West End.
You've told me
I've
about
talked
this before.
about this,
Yeah.
The movie is really good too.
Nice.
But it's about a marsh woman ghost.
Oh, a marsh woman ghost.
The woman of Eel Marsh or something. But
I think you should play that woman and do that voice.
so can I say that I worked at that theater when I worked in London because I was an usher that they sent around to different theaters. And the Fortune Theater where that show is, they sent me there one time or a few times to cover shifts. And I didn't realize that the ghost woman, it's a small cast. It's 3 people.
Oh.
2 guys and the woman in
ghost.
black and a ghost. And she just pops up in random places and she'll come through the audience in her black cloak. And I didn't know that happened.
Yeah.
So I was carrying toilet paper rolls to like restock the bathroom.
I'm so excited for where this is going.
She was about to go into the auditorium and she popped out from behind the thing and I screamed and threw the toilet paper rolls and she was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh my, because she has like a white face, like this big cloak. And then the other people were laughing, whatever.
Amazing.
I ran right into her.
And then you had to pick up a bunch of toilet paper.
Yeah, and then I had to go restock the toilets, the water closet. The story begins in the 1950s when Kaya's mother leaves their home due to her abusive husband, followed soon after by Kaya's siblings and finally her father. They just leave her there.
Wow, okay.
Isn't that fucked?
Yeah.
But she's left alone at the age of 10.
Ooh.
Kaya relies on her knowledge of the marsh in order to sustain herself, selling mussels and smoked fish to a local store owner.
Okay.
The store owner's name is Jumpin'. I kind of like
Jumpin'.
Jumpin'. And his wife Mabel, who become her sort of protectors and friends.
Okay.
So she does have some connection
like
to
a support
a little bit of a support system.
Okay.
So despite her lack of formal education, Kaya develops a profound understanding of the flora and fauna of the marsh, documenting her observations through detailed drawings and notes. Her only other human connection comes in the form of Tate Walker, a local boy who teaches her to read and write. Kaya eventually becomes involved with Chase Andrews, who's the town's golden boy.
With a name like Chase Andrews.
I mean,
of course he is.
Yeah. He's probably a football star and...
Star of the marsh.
Stars in the marsh. Their relationship is kind of tumultuous and filled with promises that Chase never really intends to keep. But one day Chase is found dead under suspicious circumstances and Kaya is accused of the murder.
Okay.
The novel's narrative alternates between Kaya's life story and the investigation of Chase's death. You kind of know that happens, I think, like pretty, quickly.
Yeah.
Leading to a dramatic courtroom trial. The townspeople's prejudices against Kaya play a significant role in the trial as they are quick to condemn the reclusive marsh girl. They're like, that bitch did it.
She hides away in a marsh and she only comes out.
She's crazy. She's in the marsh. She's scary.
She must be a murderer.
Right.
She taught herself how to survive. She must be crazy.
Evil. Hermits and marsh people are not all bad.
They're not all murderers, okay? I almost said, we're not all murderers. And I was like, wait, I am kind of a hermit. We are sitting in a closet.
This is our version of a marsh.
Yes.
In here.
Just full of clothes and smelly shoes.
Clothes and shoes. I feel comfortable in this closet.
I'm feeling a little claustrophobic in this closet. We've talked about this.
Yeah. So Where the Crawdads Sing has achieved big success. The novel.
Okay.
Selling over 15 million copies and becoming the best-selling adult title of 2019.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yes. The book also set a record for the most weeks spent on the New York Times bestseller list.
Oh my goodness.
The term crawdad became one of Merriam-Webster's top 10 words of the year after searches for it surged by 1,200%.
What? That's insane.
Yeah.
Were people did they not know what a crawdad was?
I don't think so.
They were like, Google.
You know what a crawdad is, right?
What is a crawdad?
Yeah. I mean, having grown up in a wooded area by
Sure.
water, like, crawdads.
Yeah. But I guess, if you
don't know, then, you don't know.
But that's crazy, 1,000-something%.
So I'm going to actually tell you what crawdads are.
Tell us all.
Crawdads, also known as crayfish, are crustaceans belonging to the order Decapoda with the phylum Arthropoda. And they are part of the families Asticidae, North Hemisphere, Paraticidae, and Ostrotricidae.
Okay.
Closely related to lobsters, over half of the 500 plus species of crayfish are found in North America. While most crayfish inhabit freshwater environments, a few species can be found in brackish or saltwater.
Okay.
They primarily make sounds through stridulation.
What is that?
Which involves rubbing certain body parts together.
This is getting a little kinky.
That's what I say when I'm, let's stridulate.
Let's stridulate.
This can produce a soft rasping noise. Additionally, they might create popping or clicking sounds when they snap their claws shut. These sounds are usually associated with communication or defensive behaviors.
Okay.
That's a crawdad.
There it is.
There it is. So the novel's popularity caught the attention of Reese Witherspoon.
Reese,
who selected it for her Hello Sunshine book club in September of 2018. This led to a film adaptation in 2022, produced by Witherspoon, and featuring an original song by
Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not think that was the right answer.
I believe it's called Carolina, but I'm going to look that up really quick.
Okay.
Taylor Swift Crawdads. Carolina is the name of the song.
Okay.
The movie, promoted with the tagline, "Secrets are buried just beneath the surface," brought the story from the page to the big screen, which was a very popular thing. The book was really popular, so I think fans of the book were excited for this movie.
Sure.
Which, of course, they would be.
The movie is never as good as the book.
Yeah. What I usually do is if I see a movie that I really like and I know it's based on a book, I'll see the movie first and then I will read the book.
See, I can't do that because then I just have like the voices and how those actors look in my head when I'm trying to read it. And so I can't get away from that.
That's okay. Sometimes the one time I did that where I liked that was Cold Mountain with Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger.
See, I didn't read the book. I just saw the movie.
I loved the movie and I was like, I really like this movie. So I read the book and I loved it equally.
Oh.
And I did see them as the characters, but Nicole Kidman and Renee. Nicole and Renee.
Nicole and Renee.
Hey,
you know them.
Hey, ladies. The movie starred Daisy Edgar Jones as Kaya, Taylor Jordan Smith as Tate Walker, and Harris Dickinson as Chase Andrews. The film was written by Delia Owens and Lucy Alabar and directed by Olivia Newman.
Okay.
So the film received mixed reviews from critics, citing that it doesn't go deep enough and calling it derivative and not doing justice to the source material. Barry Hertz of the Globe and Mail of Toronto said, quote, "The film is neither heartbreaking nor thrilling, often feeling like a blown-up version of a Hallmark flick of the week. Its ambitions far greater than its capabilities."
That sucks because I was excited when you named the people behind it because I was like, okay, female production crew.
Absolutely.
Like, let's go.
But the thing is, and it got bad reviews, but, people have their own opinions, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And Adrian Horton's review for The Guardian stated, quote, "Where the Crawdads Sing never really had an interest in complications or hardship or racism as anything beyond wallpaper for its central nature girl fantasy of self-reliance. It would rather stay above the fray, gliding prettily along the marsh without actually getting dirty."
Yikes. So not great reaction.
Not great. I will say on IMDb, it does have a user rating of 7.2, which is good.
So people were still into it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Delia Owens, who authored the book. Delia Owens was born in southern Georgia on April 4th, 1949, where she grew up in the picturesque woods around Thomasville, Georgia. Her mother was a fellow nature enthusiast and encouraged her to explore the oak forests that surrounded them. Quote, the mom would say, "Go way out yonder where the crawdads sing."
Oh, okay.
That's
So
where
that's
it-
where
yeah,
it's from.
that's where it
But
came from.
also, I mean, I guess different times. Can you imagine a parent saying that now? Like,
Oh, no.
go get lost in the woods.
No.
And just stay out there for a while.
I mean, that's how you died today.
Yeah.
I mean, these were different times.
That's how people get abandoned in the woods.
That's how marsh girls happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of instilled in Delia this sense of adventure and a respect for the natural world around her. Her mother also taught her practical survival skills.
Good.
So,
I would hope if you're sending her out there.
Hiking without disturbing rattlesnakes, embracing critters of all kinds, fostering a fearless and inquisitive spirit in Delia. Delia's father was a trucking executive, and that's all I could find about him.
Oh, okay.
This early immersion in nature left a lasting impression on Delia, who came to see the wilderness as a true companion of hers.
Sure.
She had very close childhood friendships formed in the close-knit community of Thomasville. Owens would eventually dedicate the novel Where the Crawdads Sing to 3 specific friends that she's cherished since 2nd grade.
Oh, wow.
I don't have their names because
Sure.
I don't have the book, and I tried to look into it on Amazon, but
That wasn't on the preview page.
it wasn't on the preview page. Fuckers. These dual influences, her intimate connection with nature and her strong bonds with friends, shaped her studies and her writings. Delia's passion for writing emerged early on. In the 6th grade, she won first place in a writing competition at her small grammar school, an achievement that really wanted to make her be a writer.
Oh,
she
wow.
won that award, and she's like, I like this. I want to do this.
Wow, to know that young.
Did you ever do any writing stuff when you were in school?
We had young authors.
We did too, yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. I did think I was going to be some novelist at some point, and I love writing. I actually
Me
really,
too,
really
yeah.
do like writing, but I haven't. You know what? That is a goal of mine. I want to put a book out at some point.
Kate, let's do it. Let's write a book together.
Let's do it. Oh my God.
Oh,
Let's do it.
okay. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote a story in 7th grade about my dog Pogo.
Wait. I feel like I've heard this.
Did I tell you this already?
Tell me again.
Well, I had a dog who broke his leg when he was a puppy, and it never
Maybe
grew
you've
back
just
right.
told me about Pogo.
Oh yeah, it never grew back right, and he was a little 3-legged dog, and he was my everything, and my mom and dad were it was a time when they were getting divorced, and so he became my sort of person,
Your support.
my support animal. And I wrote this story called Two Hearts Become One about
Okay.
loving him and him getting me through hard times. And I won the young authors in my school for it.
Nice.
And then I got to go to the Capitol and submit it for a statewide thing.
Wow.
But I didn't get anything there. I didn't win. But whatever.
Okay, well, that was a tragic end to that story. I do want to let everyone know the dog was named Pogo before
he
it
broke his
lost
leg.
its leg.
Oh my God. No. Yeah.
It's like you guys manifested him losing that leg.
no.
You're you're Pogo
He
now.
was so cute. I loved him. So back to Delia. Upon entering university, Delia chose to pursue a career in science. She got her Bachelor of Science degree in zoology from the University of Georgia and got a PhD in animal behavior from the University of California, Davis.
Okay.
It was at the University of Georgia that Delia would meet her future husband, Mark Owens, in a protozoology class.
Oh, so
I don't know what that means. I mean, it's something to do with animals. Mark grew up on a farm near Toledo, Ohio, and at the time was a divorced father of a son named Christopher, who will feature heavily in the story later.
Oh, okay.
Mark and Delia. Christopher actually lived in Maine with his mom and stepfather.
Oh, all right.
But Mark and Delia married in 1973, and the pair went on to co-found the Owens Foundation for Wildlife Conservation in Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Look at that.
I did another deep dive here because I'm interested in nonprofits.
Yeah.
And I went to the IRS and looked at their tax returns and stuff.
I like that you're IRS.gov.
No, I'm used to it with my job of having to look
Sure.
stuff up like that. So I was I'm curious.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll talk more about that later when we get to the end of the story. So, okay, everything really kicked off in 1974 for them.
Big year for the Owenses.
Big year. Delia and Mark embarked on an adventurous journey to the central Kalahari Desert of Botswana. They couldn't wait to achieve any kind of financial security before beginning their careers. So what they did was they auctioned off all of their possessions.
Oh, wow.
And jumped on a plane with a one-way ticket to Africa, their backpacks, and $6,000 to establish their research project.
That is trust and ambition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that, honestly. Just sell everything and leave.
I mean, I kind of did that when I moved to London to do my master's.
Yeah.
I had my suitcase, my phone, and that was it. Like, I went over there and I had to find a place to live. I had to, like, do it. It's hard. It's so hard to do that, especially if you're by yourself.
I mean, I studied abroad, but, like, you're in a protected...
Right,
like,
you're in a protected thing.
Yeah, you already have, like, your flat and all that.
Those first 2 weeks, I was like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, like a completely different country. Like, because I was thinking, like, well, I've moved to other states, but a completely different country that I don't know.
Right.
I don't know that I could do that. That's wow.
It was hard.
Yeah.
So I get that. I mean, this is difficult. It's a difficult thing to do, but they did it. They traveled in an old Land Rover that they managed to acquire over there, and they set up a remote campsite and began an extensive study of local wildlife. So this was in the Kalahari Desert, which is in Botswana.
Okay.
And it's a very, very remote area. They set up a remote campsite, began studying the local wildlife, which included 6 prides of lions.
Wow.
And the elusive brown hyenas.
Ooh.
They would get up in the morning to find lions sleeping around them.
I don't like that. I need the lions a little further away from me.
I respect lions and big cats.
Sure.
But, like...
From a distance.
From a distance.
From a distance.
So, yeah, animals everywhere.
Just sleeping right next to them.
A slew. The pair would eventually find funding for their projects through various sources, but mainly their own established foundation.
Okay.
So, like, any money that was coming in would sort of go through their foundation.
Got it.
Or the Frankfurt Zoological Society was also a very big supporter of their works.
Got it.
So they went over to Africa and they wanted to study animals in the desert, and they were really passionate about it, so they made it happen.
Hey.
In the early stages of their work, Mark Owens ended up traveling to South Africa to learn how to fly small airplanes.
Whoa.
With funding from Frankfurt Zoological Society, he acquired a single-engine Cessna.
I would be terrified to fly a plane.
I would never want to get in one of those tiny little planes.
These people are living a life that I would never, ever pursue.
Yeah, I think I might value my life a little too much to get in a little Cessna. Mark used his plane to conduct aerial surveys of the Kalahari's wildlife.
Okay.
He and Delia closely studied the social behavior of those hyenas, and uncovering their surprisingly communal nature. Their vivid and accessible writing about these predators drew a lot of attention to them, which ended up getting them more funding. So people were interested in what they were doing.
Yeah. I would imagine they're probably like the only ones in that area doing this.
Yeah, I mean, they specifically sought out this area because it's underrepresented, understudied. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of people going out there because it is so remote.
Yes.
The Owenses engaged with reporters who visited them in Africa, framing their story not just as a study of carnivores, but also as a narrative of young love thriving in a challenging environment.
Sure.
I mean, yeah,
I
would buy that.
Going. Yeah, doing it all.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So, yeah, they lived in close proximity to those animals for over 7 years.
Wow.
Delia observed their social structures, particularly the strong lifelong bonds among female members of the species.
Okay.
These observations resonated with Delia's own experiences with her lifelong friendships. Mm-hmm. So she was really connecting to animal life.
Because we're all just a bunch of animals.
We're all just a bunch of animals flailing around and eating up things.
Like donuts.
So that led her to co-author the best-selling and award-winning book, Cry of the Kalahari, with Mark, about all of that studying and living in Africa, which was released in 1984.
Okay.
To acclaim. It was people really loved it.
Great.
The book detailed their experiences studying wildlife for those 7 years in what's known as Deception Valley in the Central Kalahari Game Reserve.
Okay.
It was an extremely remote area, no roads, and the nearest civilization was 8 hours away.
Oh, no thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Once again, just reaffirming that I will not be ever doing this.
Mark and Delia experienced dangerous conditions and encounters with drought, fire, bad storms, and the animals themselves. The temperature would often climb above 125 degrees during the summer.
It just dawned on me, were they just sleeping outside on the ground?
I mean, they had, like, camping equipment.
So they didn't...
I don't know that they had any kind of, like, house or, like...
It just dawned on me, like, wait, the lions were sleeping next to... Like, they're just outside.
They're just out there.
This is insane.
They're just out there. The temp would be really high, but the remoteness of the location helped them to focus on the study.
Sure.
They weren't having to really worry about... I mean, obviously there's a ton of shit to worry about, but, like, other people are, like, doing... You know what I mean? The remoteness was helping them with the study.
They were immersed.
Immersed. Exactly. That's a great word for it. Here's a quote from the book. "We rationed ourselves to 7 gallons of water each per week for bathing, cooking, and drinking. The water from the drums tasted like hot metallic tea.
Oh!
And to cool it for drinking, we filled tin dinner plates and set them in the shade of the acacia? Acacia? I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a tree. Oh, it's one of those, like, crazy long... trees in the desert.
Yeah.
It's a plant. But if we didn't watch it closely, the water would quickly evaporate or collect bees, twigs, and soil. Oh. After washing the dishes, we took sponge baths in the dishwater, then strained the coffee-colored liquid through a cloth into the truck's radiator."
Once again, I won't ever be doing this.
Not into it. One day during a flight over the central Kalahari, Mark Owens witnessed a massive wildebeest migration.
I would like to see that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
That does sound cool.
Well, you could do a safari. You know what I mean? Like,
I probably won't, but yeah, I could, I guess. Yeah. It just makes me think of the Lion King, like this big migration.
I love it.
But I only want to see it if it's exactly like the Lion King.
Right. If not, fuck it.
But not the stampede part.
No.
Just want to be clear.
So yes, Mark is flying over the desert. He's witnessing this wildebeest migration, but it's abruptly halting at this steel wire fence that's out there. This 100-mile-long barrier was erected by the Botswana government to prevent the spread of foot and mouth disease to cattle.
Oh, okay.
It unfortunately caused numerous animals to die from dehydration.
No.
Because they couldn't get to the water.
Oh.
And Mark saw their carcasses scattered along the fence line.
Oh, my God.
As the surviving wildebeest sought water, they funneled into a hunting area where poachers were waiting.
No.
Leading to a mass slaughter of the wildebeest.
Now I'm feeling so many emotions. No. I was so excited about
Kate,
this.
Get ready, because this all goes into poaching of animals. It's really bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Ugh. Trigger warning, animal abuse.
Oh, okay.
Mark and Delia Owens were not having this and urgently appealed to government ministers and game management officials to protect the wildlife.
Yeah.
Request denied.
What?
They were told to abandon their efforts as the cattle industry was too influential. Realizing they needed international support, the Owenses began to publicize the issue globally.
Good.
I mean, they had the platform.
Yeah.
Hoping to enlist influential figures who could pressure the government to reconsider. Their campaign, however, embarrassed the Botswana government. One day, Mark and Delia were summoned to a meeting in Gaborone, the capital of Botswana. I could be saying that wrong.
Sounded great to me.
I think Gaborone looks right, but it could be Gaborone. They were summoned to the capital, and they were being expelled from the country. The government was a major exporter of beef to Europe and could not tolerate their actions.
Wow.
This would be messing with commerce. So, President at the time, Kwet Masir, remarked, quote, "If you cannot operate within the bounds of government, whom you are a guest of in this country, to work these issues out, then work elsewhere."
Yikes.
Thus, the Owenses were forced to leave the country they had dedicated themselves to helping. They came back to the U.S. after this and urged politicians to get involved in persuading Botswana to reverse the decision.
Yeah.
I read that Botswana did eventually reverse that decision, but it took way too long. And during this time, Mark and Delia were looking for a new park in the desert to continue their research. Okay. They couldn't just wait around to go back. They just, I mean, these are people that are like,
they had work to do.
We got work to do. We got to do these studies.
They're ambitious.
Exactly. Delia and Mark moved to the North Luangwa I meant to look this up, so I'm just going to quickly YouTube it because it comes up a lot. Luhanga. Okay. Got it. Luhanga. Delia and Mark moved to the North Luhanga Valley of Zambia to continue their wildlife research, specifically in the North Luhanga National Park.
Okay.
The Owenses saw the park as being a desolate area where civilization basically ends, which is what they're looking for, which is kind of what they had in Botswana.
Yeah.
It was an area that wasn't really guarded or maintained very well, and the Owenses set up their camp on the site of an abandoned Bisa village, naming it Marula Puku, after the marula tree and the puku antelope, both prevalent in that region. There, they studied elephants and established a program to support local villagers, actively trying to reduce the need for poaching. The elephants actually felt safe in the Owens' camp. They created this great relationship with these local elephants.
Yeah.
But what was happening at the time was major elephant poaching was happening in this area.
Okay.
The elephants felt safe in the Owens' camp and became regular visitors to them. And Delia's studies focused on the social behavior of these magnificent creatures. She was like, I'm all in on the elephants now. Her research was published in prominent scientific journals, earning her prestigious awards and recognition. There was also another book by Mark and Delia called The Eye of the Elephant, which was released in 1992.
Okay.
So the poaching, as I just said, was getting majorly out of control.
This has nothing to do with this story whatsoever, but speaking of writing, I used to want to be a children's book author. Like that was like something I really wanted to do, and I kind of pursued it for a little bit.
Yay!
And I had a story called My Pet Elephant. And that's all I have to say about
Can I say something about a child story I wrote?
Yes.
It was 11th grade. I was in Spanish, and we were tasked with writing a children's novel in Spanish.
Oh.
And so I did a little, I drew pictures and stuff. And my story was called Steve y Augusta van Aguam. So it was about Steve, who was a giant shrimp.
Oh.
Camarones. And there was this little girl, Augusta, whose mother was crazy and she hated her.
Oh.
And she met Steve at the beach one day. And Steve was like, Augusta, we're best friends. Let's go to Guam.
Let's do this.
And so they went off to Guam together.
And had a wonderful life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I eat camarones when I go to restaurants sometimes.
Me too, Kate.
So, sorry, Steve.
So, poaching out of control, there was an ivory boom happening in Asia, which brought in commercial poachers. This included local Zambians and foreigners.
Oh, I hate that.
They were a dangerous bunch. They carried AK-47s and other automatic guns to take down a lot of animals at one time.
I hate this.
I know. These poachers were slaughtering 1,000 elephants annually.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
In 1960, the area was home to approximately 70,000 elephants. However, by the 1980s, relentless hunting had decimated that population. By the time the Owenses arrived in 1986, they estimated that only around 5,000 elephants remained.
It went from how many to
70,000 to 5,000
in 20
a span
years.
Of 20 years, yeah.
That is awful.
And elephants, I think, live for a pretty decent amount of time.
Elephants are the shit.
They're amazing.
They're baddies.
They're the baddies of the Africa. Oh God, I sounded like Miss Teen South Carolina. Did you ever see that clip where she's like, they ask her about education, and she's like, I personally believe that everywhere, like such as in the Iraq and the South Africa, don't have maps.
I know that clip because you did a dub smash to it
did.
And sent it to me, and it was amazing. Oh my God. Bring back the dub smash.
Bring back dub smash. I think it's still a thing.
I think so, but like where has the popularity gone?
It's lost. So the high value of ivory was fetching over $100 per pound on the international market.
Ugh.
It had turned elephants into a crucial source of income for the people living around North Luhanga, making poaching an unfortunate necessity for human survival.
Ugh.
Locals were poaching because it brought them money to live. Upon discovering that local villagers relied on poaching for their livelihood, Delia and Mark became a dynamic duo of economic development in that area. Their idea was like, let's figure out other ways for you to make livings.
Yes.
Like this, so you don't have to poach elephants.
Yes.
So they assisted the villagers in establishing sewing and woodworking shops, fish farms, and grain mills.
Okay.
They were also like setting up healthcare in the
Wow.
area. They endeavored to persuade the community that preserving wildlife would be more beneficial in the long run.
Yeah.
This was their new calling, which they called the North Luangwa Conservation Project.
Okay.
Nonetheless, their efforts attracted a shitstorm from the bigwig commercial poachers.
Oh, I'm sure.
Who decided that the Owenses must be eliminated.
When you say eliminated, what do you mean?
Eliminated.
Like murder?
Killed.
Oh my God.
They were like, get these fuckers out of here. They're fucking with our money.
Shit.
Transforming their mission to save the elephants into a struggle for their own survival. They went to war. They basically started a war with the poachers.
Oh, wow. I'm scared.
I know.
I'm just like...
It's funny because this flips.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. This sounds great now.
It does not sound great.
I mean, no. For the Owenses.
Got it.
But this takes a turn.
Okay.
There were park scouts that were hired by the Zambian government to protect the area.
Okay.
But these people weren't paid well.
Of course not.
Nor were they equipped to take on poachers. So, like,
Yeah.
what are they going to do about
these
it?
These poachers have AK-47s. Like,
what are you going to do? They're not equipped with any kind of weaponry.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Mark Owens saw this and decided that they needed to get more scouts engaged and provide them with the necessary means to fight back against the poaching.
Okay.
So Mark Owens expanded his authority over the Valley and Game Scouts and extended his anti-poaching campaign beyond the borders of the national park. He added a Bell helicopter and another Cessna aircraft to their equipment.
Wow.
And trucks provided by their conservation project. The Owenses and the Scouts had become mobile. They were trying to do anything in their power to stop the poaching.
Yeah.
In The Eye of the Elephant book, Delia Owens described the regular village sweeps, where scouts raided villages at night, capturing suspects and seizing firearms.
Whoa.
In 1994, the Owenses unsuccessfully sought financial support from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, detailing their tactics and successes, including confiscating over 50 firearms in a single sweep.
You said they were unsuccessful?
No, well, they were unsuccessful in securing funding from the U.S. to fund their project to get the scouts armed.
Okay.
Basically. And so here's where it gets a little like, because Mark Owens is basically like, we're going to basically create an army of scouts to fight the poachers.
Wow.
And this is going to include getting them weapons. This is going to include getting them trucks. This is going to include, it gets a little tricky here, inciting violence.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I'm sure that back in their college days when they were sitting in their animal class and meeting and having their little meet cute and falling in love, they never thought, you know what, let's start an army.
And fight poachers.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so then they did these sweeps in the villages to like see if people had weapons because they were going to take them.
Take them from the poachers?
Yes.
Got it.
Residents of villages around the park recounted instances of scouts beating suspected poachers.
Oh.
In the nearby village of Cheetah, one villager named Mutolo described the scouts as violence, including being beaten with hands and rifles. Scouts searched homes without warrants, turning houses upside down, looking for weapons and dried meat.
This is terrifying.
Yeah.
This is so dangerous.
Despite legal prohibitions against such raids, villagers reported no documents justifying the scouts' actions. This really wasn't a very legal thing to do, it seems.
It doesn't sound like it.
So the Owenses denied involvement in harming poachers or instructing scouts to do so.
But didn't they? You're making that face. They
That's
encouraged it.
That's the thing that's debated.
Okay.
This will all go deeper into it because it culminates in something bad.
Okay.
They were like, no, we're not telling them to do that stuff. They're just doing it.
Mm.
But like, who gave them the guns and the means?
Right.
I don't know. However, Mark would fly his little plane over poacher camps and drop firecrackers, aka cherry bombs,
to like
scare them.
Okay.
The poachers.
This is so intense.
It's crazy. Mary Dykes, who worked for the Owens Foundation, stated that any policy supporting abuse would have led to immediate arrest by local villagers and corrupt officials. However, some scouts admitted to detaining and questioning poachers.
Wow, okay.
One scout named Mvulu described tying prisoners to stakes in the sun to discourage poaching, while another, Henry Kampamba, recalled Mark Owens advocating beatings for anyone found with animal meat or weapons. So it's this he said, she said situation here. The foundation, of course, is like, of course not. Like, they wouldn't do that, and it's illegal to do so. But then some of the scouts are like, no, they're telling us to do this.
Yeah.
The Owenses denied allegations, again, of detaining or mistreating poachers at Marulapuku, claiming any detentions were brief and under humane conditions.
I don't think tying someone to a stake and putting them in the hot sun is humane, but...
A former employee of theirs, Hammer Simwinga, confirmed that captured poachers were sometimes held for interrogation to extract information about poaching activities. Despite controversies, Simwinga acknowledged the effectiveness of these tactics in reducing poaching, noting that the Owens' contributions to local health care and wildlife protection outweighed the harm to poachers.
It's like, which is the lesser evil?
Yeah. Supporters of the Owenses argued that the risks of poaching justified the Owenses' actions. They cited the couple's successful anti-poaching strategies and village health projects as achievements. Critics, however, questioned the legitimacy of their methods, pointing to incidents where villagers had allegedly disappeared.
Villagers being the poachers or the scouts?
Poachers. Because if you were found with meat, like animal meat, dried animal meat, or weapons, and you were no scout, I think they thought you were a poacher.
Did they kill them?
Maybe.
Okay.
Allegedly disappeared. The Owenses' role in anti-poaching operations remained contentious. They claimed not to command or pay scouts, stating that Mark Owens was not responsible for the scouts' actions on the ground. However, scouts and former employees attested to Mark Owens' leadership and authority over anti-poaching patrols. In the book The Eye of the Elephant, Delia wrote about Mark creating special units for high-performing scouts and equipping them with new gear.
Well, she just wrote it right there.
Yeah. She basically was like, no, he had full authority.
Yeah.
Over the scouts.
She just said it.
But Mark is like, no, not really.
And they're still married, though, at this point.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I mean, might want to get your story straight, couple.
Yeah. PJ Fausch, I'll say Fausch, Fouche, a hunter managing a concession near the park, recalled scouts saluting Owens and describing him as always armed and ready to fight. Oh, well. Their alliance ended due to tactical disagreements, but Owens' supporters maintained that he was a dedicated and effective leader. In a letter to Fausch, Owens detailed anti-poaching operations, claiming to have participated in ambushes that resulted in the deaths and wounding of poachers.
So he admits it.
And requested ammunition support for his scouts. This is what PJ says. This letter isn't a material thing that he has.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know the validity.
I got you.
The validity of this letter, especially in the article that I used as the main source, kind of says like, okay, was that a real thing?
Because they don't have anything written down to prove
Right,
it.
there's not like a tangible proof.
Got it.
This is all getting messy, right? There's killing going on of these poachers. There's these scouts. It seems allegedly that Mark is like creating this army of scouts to kill poachers, basically.
Yeah.
So here's where things start to get very messy.
Oh, okay.
Even more messy.
Here we go.
In 1994, ABC sent a TV crew to North Luangwa, Zambia, led by producer Andrew Tkach with reporter Deborah Amos. A year later, Meredith Vieira replaced Amos. Yeah. And the episode titled Deadly Game, The Mark and Delia Owens Story aired on March 30th, 1996. Diane Sawyer introduced the program, which warned viewers of violent scenes. The documentary followed the Owenses, portraying them as an idealistic American couple committed to wildlife conservation and their struggles against poachers.
Okay.
That was the theme.
The angle.
The angle, yeah. Mark Owens was shown wearing camouflage and carrying a pistol, expressing nostalgia for a pristine past of Africa. Vieira, then the chief correspondent for Turning Point. Turning Point was the program on ABC that this aired on. It was like a news magazine program. Highlighted the challenges faced by the Owenses, including multiple assassination attempts by poachers. Ugh. Delia described the fear and strain on their marriage due to the constant threats.
I would imagine.
Mark admitted the toll their mission had taken on their relationship, emphasizing the extreme measures he took, including flying at night despite being shot at. Oh. He would go up in his plane and poachers would see it and shoot at his plane.
Jeez.
Yeah. The documentary depicted violent confrontations between scouts and poachers. Mark Owens instructed scouts to shoot armed poachers on sight to avoid being killed themselves.
Whew,
allegedly.
Okay.
He acknowledged his discomfort with this approach, but justified it as a necessary for survival.
Well, I don't think it's alleged if this is on that program.
It is, but I still want to say it just in case. Because he denies all of this to this day.
Oh, interesting.
Delia expressed her moral dilemma, but ultimately supported the scouts' actions. I think what they're saying is like, if they're coming at you, take them out kind of thing.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Here's where it gets crazy. A shocking scene in this documentary showed a suspected poacher being shot by a game scout. Vieira's voiceover noted that poachers' bodies were often left after being killed for animals to eat.
Oh, okay.
This was shown on national television at the time.
That's bananas.
I was able to find a clip of this online. It's very disturbing. I don't recommend looking at it. You don't necessarily see the scout shoot the suspected poacher.
Uh-huh.
The camera goes off because they're chasing a suspected poacher.
Okay.
They find a campsite, basically, where, like, whoever's at this campsite has, like, ammo, has ammunition rounds. So they're like, this must be a poacher then. And then as the guy comes back to his little campsite and they're there, they kind of have a confrontation. Mm-hmm. And that's when he's been shot apparently by this guy, this scout that's leading the camera crew.
Okay.
And the guy is laying on the ground. So that's when the camera starts rolling again.
You know that cameraman was like, fuck, why did I put my camera down?
Yeah. Here's where it's weird. You then see shots being fired into the guy on the ground.
Oh.
But you don't see who's shooting the gun. You would think it'd be the scout that's doing the shooting, but that's where things start to get murky.
Okay.
So who was actually doing the shooting here? Also, this man was by himself in the woods and had some shotgun shells. Does that even mean he's a poacher?
Right.
There's no real evidence that this man was heavily armed at the time he was killed. On camera.
That's wild.
Critics praised the documentary.
Really?
But it also raised concerns among the Owens' supporters. They clarified in letters to donors that the shoot-to-kill policy was a self-defense measure used by Zambian scouts, not their project. But also, like, your project is involved with the scouts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm unclear, and I think that's where this leads to sort of a murky line between things of, like, was it your project? Or were the scouts actually coming up with their own policies?
Like because acting
independently. It doesn't sound like it because of Mark's interaction with them.
Yeah.
That's what we don't know, because some scouts are like, no, he told us to do this. Other people later in the story are like, no, they were great, the Owenses.
Both can be true.
Both can be true at the same time. That's what makes this so like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
The documentary's portrayal of Zambia as allowing preemptive killings of poachers led to a government investigation.
I would think so.
Zambia doesn't have a shoot-to-kill law, and the government expresses that they don't even support a policy like that informally. The Owenses were then expelled from Zambia.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and their project was put to a halt.
Yeah.
The American embassy defended them, but they remained in exile, seeking to clear their names. Mark Owens wrote to the Zambian Attorney General denying involvement in the shooting and asserting that the ABC producer was the one obsessed with finding poaching incidents.
Oh, that's creepy if that's true, because that does sound producery.
I know, that's the thing. Like, it sounds shitty, like you want to see this stuff. So but the thing is, we don't know what's going on behind the camera.
Yeah.
Despite no charges being filed, the Owenses never returned to Zambia.
Okay.
Investigators continued to seek information about the unidentified dead man. No one ever figured out who he was.
Really?
Yeah. Efforts to identify the victim through village inquiries proved unsuccessful.
So even other poachers, like no one claimed to have known
Nope.
him? No family came forward?
Nope. Deputy Commissioner Biemba Musol, who led the investigation, acknowledged the difficulty of solving the case without interviews with the ABC team and the Owenses. He wanted to travel to the U.S. to do this, but the government couldn't afford to pay for the travel.
Oh.
So Musol iterates that ABC was an accessory to the murder, and the investigation remains open as there is no statute of limitations on murder.
Oh, wow.
Jeffrey Schneider, an ABC News spokesperson, stated that ABC would not release the video Chris Everson shot in the Luhanga Valley. Chris Everson was the cameraman.
Okay.
Comparing the request to asking for another reporter's notes. He's like, I'm not going to give you that. He wasn't going to give it to them.
To
the footage that he shot. He wasn't going to give it to the government.
To the Zambian government. Got it.
He also noted that ABC could not comment on the episode's production details as the staff involved had since left the network. I want to say the Jeffrey Schneider thing is at the time that this article is being written in 2010.
Okay.
So the author of that article, Jeffrey, went to all these people and talked to them. And the guy, Jeffrey Schneider at the time, was like, I'm not going to give out the video footage. Nobody who worked on this really works here anymore. So there's nothing to do and we're not going to comment on it. So the guy at ABC, Schneider, mentioned that the report indicated an agreement was made not to identify the individuals involved in the patrols when they were there in the making the video. They were like, don't identify anybody here because this is
bad.
It's bad and it's really not legal.
Yeah.
So
ABC agreed to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was like, ooh, that raised a bunch of ethical questions on their part.
Yeah. Ooh.
The Owenses, however, denied making that agreement and claimed that they had successfully petitioned ABC not to rebroadcast the program, although there are no records to confirm this.
Okay. That says something right there.
But I did find the clip of the killing, and it's narrated by the guy who wrote the article I'm using as my main source. It is linked because I did use it, but obviously, as I said before,
watch with caution. It's a little blurry because it's old. Yeah.
But still. So Diane Sawyer, the host of Turning Point, was unavailable for comment and was described by Schneider as having a limited role in the episode's content creation. Meredith Vieira, who also worked on the episode, arrived in Zambia after the shooting.
I see.
And did not recall the specifics of her involvement. She mentioned that while she remembered some discussions about confidentiality, she was not aware of the details or why identifying an American shooter would be omitted, if that was the case.
Right.
The shooting incident documented in Deadly Game added to the controversy around all of this.
What's Deadly Game? Was that the name of the episode?
Yeah,
okay, sorry. Yeah. I thought something. I was like, wait.
It's Deadly Game, the Mark and Delia Owens story.
Okay.
The video of the poacher being shot was out there, but the full story remained completely unclear. Cameraman Chris Everson later revealed that Christopher Owens, Mark's son,
I forgot about him.
Fired the first and final shots.
I didn't even know he was there.
He would go to visit periodically, like a handful of times. But
this changes some things. So,
but here's the thing. None of that is confirmed.
Right.
And like Mark and Delia Owens, Mark's like, no, he wasn't there.
Huh.
But is he protecting?
Right.
We don't know.
And that's his son.
That's his son. And nobody, even the guy who wrote the article, couldn't get a hold of Chris to talk about it.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
The documentary did not disclose Christopher's involvement, leading to a further debate about the Owens' accountability. According to Zambian detective Biemba Musol, who's on this case, Mark Owens allegedly disposed of the body by dropping it in a lagoon from a helicopter, a claim that Owens denied. However, Delia said that Christopher Owens was not present at all. She said his name was thrown into the mix because the cameraman was also named Chris. But Chris, the cameraman, I know it's confusing.
This is so messy.
I know. But
no, it's not confusing. I'm with you.
Okay.
But, whoa, it is messy.
This is messy. Supporters of the Owenses argued that their anti-poaching methods, despite being rough, were necessary and effective in protecting the wildlife. Critics, however, continued to question their tactics and the extent of their involvement in violent incidents.
Yeah.
The Owenses maintained that their actions were driven by the urgent need to save endangered species, and they denied any wrongdoing or misuse of authority.
So you are kind of admitting it, because if you're saying, well, my actions were warranted, but we didn't do it, but like we were totally okay.
But we understand why it was happening.
Yeah. Messy.
Yeah. In 2006, a decade after the Owenses left Zambia, Houghton Mifflin, which was their publisher, their book publisher, published their third book by Mark and Delia Owens titled Secrets of the Savannah. While this book covers similar ground as their earlier work, The Eye of the Elephant, it focuses less on the anti-poaching stuff and omits the ABC documentary controversy and subsequent police investigation. Instead, the Owenses attribute their departure to corrupt officials who sought to halt their anti-poaching activities and seize their project's assets.
So they're basically just kind of wiping their slate of any responsibility.
They kind of slate clean.
Okay.
The book features a scene where an informant who's named as Talky, Talky, warns them of imminent danger from Zambian officials allegedly working to end their project. This is what they're saying happened.
Okay.
This guy named Talky was like, Zambian officials are against your anti-poaching stuff and they're going to come and drive you out, basically. So they were informed of that and they were like, we got to get out of here. And so they left Zambia. And discovered that their project's assets had been seized. U.S. Embassy warnings advised them not to return due to safety concerns linked to powerful figures involved in the investigation.
And this was all that's the book that they wrote.
Book. Yeah.
Okay.
This is what they said happened.
Okay, so they kind of put that out as their side of the story?
Yes.
All right.
But they didn't talk about the documentary. They were just like, oh yeah, like we were against poaching and we were trying to do things to make it better. But then the government came in and was going to oust us, which they did anyway.
Yeah.
In their book, the Owenses allege that officials associated with the project ADMADE, ADMADE, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Conspired against them. But ADMADE was another conservation project running in Zambia at the same time that the Owenses were there that focused on community-based natural resource management. And they were like, I bet it was them who were going to push us out because they're also doing similar work.
Oh, and they were like, they're the competition and they don't want us here.
Yeah. But former Zambian Anti-Corruption Commission Director Paul Russell suggested that Mark Owens had reported institutional corruption. Russell claimed that USAID, U.S. Agency for International Development, had withdrawn support from ADMADE in 1996. However, USAID and other organizations connected to ADMADE did not provide any additional information about this, and the project ended in 2000. It does not seem like they were doing anything against the Owenses at all.
Yeah.
Like they had their own thing going on.
Right.
So, little weird to kind of bring that up.
Yeah.
You know?
Feels like they're grasping at straws to try and clear their name.
Yeah.
Or make themselves look like the victim.
Yes.
Just based on what I'm hearing.
Right. Correct. So after leaving Zambia, the Owenses settled in Boundary County, Idaho.
Okay.
Where they faced suspicion and controversy from local residents.
Over that situation,
Yeah.
or was it something new?
No.
Okay.
Well, new stuff and old stuff.
Oh.
Their attempts to claim a county road and their involvement in a tax dispute over a conservation easement generated friction with them and the local community.
Okay.
Despite initial challenges, they engaged in state-sponsored grizzly bear tagging efforts and adapted their approach to fit local norms. So they moved to Idaho, had a little bit of run-in with local stuff over a road and some tax things. And then they're like, okay, we're going to tag grizzlies.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that something that the locals needed done?
I mean, that was like a local conservation effort.
Okay.
You know, to track grizzlies.
So it sounds like they're trying to play by their rules now. Okay.
Yes. That was their local wildlife that they can engage with.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Goldberg, who's the author, I keep referencing, of this awesome article
Sure.
in the New Yorker, found Delia Owens. He went and talked to everybody. He went to Africa. He went to Maine to look for Christopher.
Wow.
He went up to Idaho and found them, went onto their property and was like, tell me what the fuck happened.
Okay.
He's like amazing.
Let's
He's spent
fucking
months researching this, which
Yeah.
is why I say go read that article.
Yeah.
Because there'll probably be more in there that, nitty gritty.
Sure.
Yeah, he went onto the land and she reacted. She was pissed when he showed up. And when questioned about the past allegations in the ABC video, she was like, oh, God, how did you find me? Asserting that they, were misunderstood and that their work was aimed at saving the elephants, not harming people.
Well, I'm sure their work was aimed at that, but it sounds like
You harmed people in the process.
things went awry.
Allegedly, potentially. She and Mark dismissed rumors about poacher mistreatment and defended their methods as necessary for conservation.
It's always that when she adds
She's
that
like,
to it.
No.
She's like, we didn't do anything, but we were justified in doing it. That's what she's saying.
It does feel like that. Yeah, absolutely. Christopher Owens, who occasionally visited his father and stepmother in Zambia, has faced legal trouble since returning to the U.S. Not all over this situation, but including convictions for animal cruelty.
Okay. Seems to be a disconnect with the parents' mission and what he's got going on.
Right.
Something's not right.
Despite these issues, Mark and Delia Owens' conservation work is acknowledged to have made a significant impact. So the organization that backed them, the Frankfurt Zoological Society, took over the project after they left because the government seized it as in you're not doing this anymore, get out. And so the Frankfurt project came in and was like, okay, let's see if we can salvage any of this. I mean, it effectively managed North Luanga Park, leading to the resurgence of wildlife populations and a reduction in poaching.
Okay.
Today, the park is considered one of the best maintained in Zambia, with a notable recovery of elephant and black rhino numbers.
Well, I'm glad for that. That's a great outcome.
Yeah. Something good in here. Delia, Mark, and Christopher Owens are all still wanted for questioning in Zambia.
Oh.
Quote, there is no statute of limitations on murder in Zambia, said the country's director of public prosecutions, Lillian Shawasiunye. I apologize for butchering that name. She told The Atlantic. The Atlantic did a big article on this, update on this. Quote, they are all wanted for questioning in this case, including Delia Owens. But it doesn't look like any of them will be going back to Zambia anytime soon.
Yeah, if I were wanted for questioning in another country, I'm probably not going to go to that country.
There is also no extradition treaty between Zambia and the United States at this time. So they can't extradite people back. And that's the story of that.
Okay.
An article written for Vanity Fair about this states that the movie was eager to distance itself from the controversial story.
The movie where the Crawdads Sing?
Where the Crawdads Sing,
okay.
Yeah. Sorry, to bring that back all the way to Delia's book and movie.
Okay.
This came out when the movie came out. 2010 was when Jeffrey released this article all about this. I mean, this had been going on for decades. People knew about it.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like
But I don't think the audience that loved the book and the movie knew about this.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of resurfaced when Delia started to make money and be famous off of writing this book and the movie specifically. When this controversy sort of came to a head again, Time magazine asked screenwriter Lucy Alabar if Delia had any connection to the killing in an interview.
Oh.
And Lucy was like, I don't know what you're talking about. We didn't talk about, I'm the screenwriter of this.
Yeah, she was like, what are you talking, Zambia?
I don't know anything about this. So after this happened, the film's distributor canceled upcoming scheduled interviews with Delia, Reese Witherspoon, Olivia Newman, and Daisy Edgar Jones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being the screenwriter on that and then somebody like...
And they're so did Delia, who wrote the book and helped with the script, kill that guy in
Yeah, so
Zambia?
about that murder and all those other potential murders... Sorry, what?
What? Poor Lucy.
Oh,
I
man.
feel for her. But then the studio was like, fuck.
I'm sure.
And then they were like, all right, no more press.
Yeah. Yikes.
So I'm going to get into another little topic here about the Owenses.
Okay.
And that runs into ideals around white saviorism and colonialism.
Okay.
I just want to bring this up because there are some really interesting articles out there about this. Where the Crawdads Sing the novel is also rife with racial and historical misinformation. In the novel, a black character named Jumpin' that runs a gas station and store is one of the few to show kindness to Kaya after she experiences an assault. And despite Kaya's plea to not involve the sheriff, Jumpin' insists on justice, reflecting a naive understanding of racial dynamics in the rural South in the early 60s. The notion that a black man would report such a crime to white police officers, given the racial injustices at that time, shows historical ignorance.
It sounds like it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Goldberg's article, which I've referenced several times, critiques this insensitivity by Delia in her writing of Where the Crawdad Sings. He said that the Owens' view of Africa to the sentiment, nice continent, pity about the Africans. That kind, the mentality of that. So while Delia Owens is often depicted through her successful book, An Idyllic Idaho Life, her past reveals a more complex and troubling story. Her narrative is marked by a blend of idealism and darkness, where the pursuit of righteousness and power leads to conflict and fear among those around her. Despite their efforts to escape human failings by isolating themselves, the Owens' lives illustrate the humanity's flaws are completely inescapable. This also harkens back to the relationship between poaching and British colonialism in Africa. I want to briefly get into an article written for the New York Times by Ruth McLean and Collins Chilumba Sampa, titled "Americans Tried to Save Elephants in Zambia. Were They the Good Guys?" ? This is an interview with poacher turned preservationist by the Owenses, Bernard Mutondo. I know that sounds confusing. I'll explain it. Mutondo was a notorious poacher in North Luangwa National Park. His account is that Mark Owens shot at him and captured him, and then he ended up working for the Owenses. It's
voluntarily.
It's a crazy story.
Okay.
I'll talk a little more about it. Many of the people in Zambia saw the Owenses as these rich white people that wanted to protect the animals and not the people. The Zambian people followed because of their wealthy status and felt like they had no choice but to go along with it.
Oh, that's sad.
Elders in the area recounted during colonial times, like hundreds of years earlier, the British district commissioner would order villagers to improve sanitation or sell their grain. Historically, the area was well known for ivory hunting, of course, but once the British arrived, only white hunters were allowed to hunt.
I see.
Andrew Eldred Tomba, director of Zambia's Department of National Parks and Wildlife, noted that these great white hunters killed animals for sport. Ugh. Additionally, communities were often forced to relocate because of this.
Wow.
For a long time, residents of local villages lived harmoniously with wildlife, hunting only as needed and practicing conservation. However, when white man surveyors, known as Sarufeas in Bemba, arrived, they declared it unsafe to live near the wildlife and forced the villagers to move, disrupting their traditional lifestyle and food sources.
So they were fine, basically.
They were fine.
The villagers were fine. They were doing their thing, living harmoniously among the wildlife. It was all working. White people came in and
fucked it all up
and was like, we don't like this.
Yeah.
So
they're like, we're going to hunt them for sport.
And you guys need to get out.
Get GTFO.
And
then you bring in capitalism and you start running things in a way where you need money and start moving money, and then it disrupts the relationship completely.
White people ruin everything.
I know. We do. However, there's another side to this. I think some villagers thought we just have to go along with this because it's like historically what we've had to do. But then some locals still feel like the Owenses were really helping them. Some people really liked them and providing a means to make a living. But others see it as a form of colonial white saviorism.
I see.
While the land there is seen as flourishing, there are still disruptions from outsiders. Wealthy people can now buy land around North Luangwa, and residents feel betrayed because the government is selling community land to rich individuals for game hunting, specifically. Professional hunters say that it's a form of preservation because the game hunters say this, that it's a form of preservation because it, quote, gives communities a financial interest in protecting animals. But where's the revenue? They're thinking that game hunting is going to bring money to the area for the locals, but that's not happening.
I was going to say.
It's not happening.
Sounds like they're just doing it for them.
Yes. But they're like, no, it's for you guys.
Ugh.
Isn't that gross?
Yeah.
That's fucked up. The Owens Foundation for Wildlife is still an active nonprofit. I looked it up on their website, which needs some work.
Okay.
But according to the IRS, it's still an active organization that received less than $50,000 in 2022, marked on their 990 tax filing, and Mark is listed as the chief officer. Delia Owens lives in North Carolina now. She divorced from Mark.
Oh.
I don't know when.
Okay.
You know, they had written that book and were living in Idaho. I feel like it was not too long ago. But yeah, they're divorced now. She lives in North Carolina, and I think he still lives in Idaho. I couldn't find where he's at right now. That's it. That's the story.
And so they're still wanted for questioning.
Yep.
Wow. It's so interesting because I know she made a boatload of money off Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, yeah. And she doesn't really talk about this anymore.
I'm sure she doesn't. I mean, why would she want to bring it up?
Right. I would not condone the killing of poachers in that manner. I feel like legal action should have been taken more seriously. In Zambia, I don't know the politics around that.
And the thing is, they probably didn't either. And are
That's
kind of
thing.
just like making up their own.
I think so.
Rules?
You're in this remote area where you're not really effectively sort of like governed per se with law.
And you're kind of just doing your own thing. Yeah, it does sound a little bit like they kind of made up their own rules.
I think they did, yeah. And then because the government came in and said, no, you can't, there's no shoot to kill policy. That's not a thing. And we don't condone that.
Eek. And I'm also sad that they never identified the man that was shot on camera.
I know. No one ever knew who he was.
That's really
I don't
sad.
even think they did anything with the body. I think they left it there. And it got eaten by animals.
Oh my God. That just this whole thing is messy. I feel icky.
It's a crazy story. And my title is Crawdads and Controversy, the real story of Mark and Delia Owens.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like how you got so happy at the end.
I know. That's the one I settled on.
You're like, it's a really tragic story. And that is Crawdads Controversy. Woo!
Oof.
That photo session really just... It's been a roller coaster of emotions today.
It has. We've had to laugh when we don't want to laugh.
It's not that I didn't want to laugh.
No, that's a wrong way to put it.
Photo shoots are hard, you guys.
You guys.
They're just not I'm not a natural at that, but we wanted to get some fun little
candid moments.
And us working and stuff just to have. So that was fun. That episode, on the other hand, real downer.
Was a doozy.
But let us know your thoughts. Have you read the book? Have you seen the movie? Did you know about this case?
Did you read any of the Owens' books? Did you know about what was going on?
I will also say I didn't realize, I mean, it makes sense. She's an author, but I didn't realize she wrote anything else besides Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah, I mean, that's her only fiction work.
Okay.
I mean, she's written several articles and stuff for, a lot of different publications on zoological things and her studies. And, of course, co-authoring these 3 books with her husband at the time, Mark. But fiction-wise, Where the Crawdads Sing was her foray into that genre.
It would be interesting if she wrote anything after all of this has resurfaced.
I know. I don't know. I didn't see anything about anything else of hers coming out or any new books, but
you can leave your comments on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at
Horrorwood Podcast,
or send us an email at
horrorwoodpodcast@gmail.com.
And remember, we're always looking for your own stories, so
send them in.
Be sure to email those to us.
And rate, review, and subscribe.
Please do. It really does. I know we say this. It really helps us out a lot.
It really helps.
Or you can hop on over to Patreon at
patreon.com/horrorwoodpodcast.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!